Hello, welcome to the Focused Mindset Podcast. Welcome to my guests that are watching on YouTube, whether you're catching this on Instagram or whether you're listening on my podcast. I'm so glad you're here with us today. The Focused Mindset Podcast, the parenting edition, is where we find out how we can best communicate with our kids. How can we find out how to have a healthy mindset, a calm mindset within ourselves, and also how to help our child have a good mindset? So our communication remains exactly the way we want it to do. Our communication allows us to connect. When we are connecting with our family, all the other troubles that are going to come up in our life will surely seem like they aren't so traumatic. When we have someone else that we care about and we love and we care about, that we're connected to. So connection is important, communication is important. And today we are having a wonderful question that came in from Jen, and I'm going to answer it right here on the air. I'm going to play it for you. Hopefully you guys will be able to hear it. If not, I'll definitely reiterate, so don't worry. Here it comes.
Hi, Cheryl. My name's Jen. I was just hoping you could answer a question I have about how to help children be honest, but yet allow them some negotiating and not have it turn into manipulation. Anything that you could share would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen, for that question. And it's something that comes up often when we're talking to kids. Negotiation, you might read in many different blogs and many different places that you should not negotiate with your kids. You should not let them negotiate with you. But is that really realistic in the world that we live in today? Especially when negotiation is also a tactic. Negotiation is something that is very useful in many jobs and in many situations. It's kind of giving a mixed message when maybe your child goes with you and they see you negotiate a price when you're buying something, or they see you negotiate a better spot in the restaurant. I don't want to sit at that table. How about if I sit at that table? Or they watch you with your significant other negotiating what you guys are going to be doing in a healthy way. And for a child, they think, well, that's the way to go. I want to get what I want. I want to get what I want as much as possible. So I'm going to negotiate my way there. The problem is as they fine tune that skill, they're teetering on manipulating, lying, exaggerating the truth, straight up just being sneaky. And of course, you want to avoid that with your child. You don't want them to be that kind of person that flies in the face of all of the values that you're instilling within them. So here comes the dilemma. What can we do? I know with this parent, I had a discussion. I talked to her and we came up with some solutions. But the problem was interesting because she had I believe he's either kindergarten or first grader. And she had noticed that he will negotiate, if there's some candy and he doesn't want the candy that's out there, but he wants another candy, he's going to try and figure out a way for him to get the candy that he wants, or an extra cookie, or all of these type of things that we know that our kids do. And mom was like, okay, you know what? Sometimes he's pretty savvy and he makes good points. But on one particular day, she realized as she had been sort of noticing that he used the skill for the bad, for the evil side. What happened was he wanted more, I think it was oranges on his lunch, on the lunch tray. And he had figured out how he can go and get more on his tray, more food on his tray without being detected, and it had all worked out for him. I don't know if this is exactly the situation, but it's as I recall that he was getting more from the lunch lady. It was a little bit manipulative. His answer was, I was figuring out how to get more. He wasn't really fully connecting why the lunch lady was completely upset and felt like he was being dishonest, did not allow him to have the food, and he ended up getting in trouble. Now, there might have been a lot of different ways to handle that situation, but in this case, he got in trouble. And now his mother was faced with, what am I going to do about this? He was being manipulative. He was being sneaky. I don't want him to be that way with me or at school. But I see a loophole. The loophole is that negotiation is not always wrong. So we're going to talk about that right now. What in the world can you do to make sure that you don't send the wrong message to your child? I have found it very helpful, even with very young children, to be very honest with the difference between these two. Have you ever sat down and had a discussion with your child on what the difference is between negotiating and manipulating? If you haven't, and you've noticed that your child is one that always seems to be negotiating up, then it's time to have that discussion. We're going to talk about some ways that you can do that. But even before that, is your child clear with your rules of the home? Because to be honest, if a negotiation flies in the face and completely disregards a rule that is already established, that's already set, then negotiation is not appropriate. This is something that a child needs to be taught. And around kindergarten, first grade is the time that they usually learn this, because usually when they're in their home, they automatic negotiations might be happening. A parent might not actually realize that a child is also sort of manipulating, but once they go to school and once they have a clear set of rules and guidelines, that's usually when it's noticed. Also, age wise, a child about that age begins to be a little more savvy with what they want to do, especially if they have younger brothers or sisters. Oh, yeah, they're going to be like, all right, I got this all figured out. Remember, a child wants to feel that power in their life. They want to feel that they're in control. That's a human thing. It's not because there's a problem with the child. A child is going to want that. So they are going to go after the highest thing that they can possibly get. It's human nature. So establishing very clear, age appropriate rules in a family is a great way to be able to set a boundary between if we're negotiating right now or if we're manipulating and trying to work the system here. If they don't even know for sure what the system is, then it's going to have a very gray area right there. We don't want any gray areas. It just makes things complicated. It also makes parents get so frustrated because they feel, oh, they should know that. They should know this. But the truth is they don't just know things. And even if they've been taught once or twice, they need to be reminded.